Hi everyone. So as you might have just seen, it looks like rents are going up in Calgary year over year, right? Well, let's dig into it and see what's going on. So if you look here, I have an article from Calgary Herald that says rent price increases slows in Calgary as vacancy rates climbs, which leads into believing that rents are still growing. So let's go into that article. So as I go down here, they have a graph and it shows vacancy rates are going up year over year, right? But here's the interesting part. It says average rent increase. Although not as extreme as last year, rents are still rising at an alarming rate. And then they show the October 2023 year-over-year change and October 2024 year-over-year change. Now, let's look into what report they're using for this. So that's the CMHC rental report, and it's the fall 2024. They're using October 2024 to October 2023 numbers. So as we dig into here, I'm skipping through some of it here, but we can see same thing, right? The headline is rent growth slowed in most Calgary, in most of Canada's largest rental markets. So the Calgary numbers here, October 2022 to 23, 14.3%, right? And then they show that 23 to 24, 8.9%. Again, suggests that rents are still growing, but not as fast of a rate as before. But now, a bunch of landlords out there that are watching this might be a bit confused, because what we're seeing right now on the rental market is that the asking rents are actually lower this year than they were last year. And it's still declining right now. And here's the data for that. Here's the RentFaster.ca pricing tool. So it's not perfect, right? It doesn't show every single rental is out there, and it doesn't show rental units, but it is a large sample. Like right now we have about 9,000 listings in Calgary on RentFaster.ca, right? So it's good enough sample. Most people are using RentFaster.ca, at least for individual landlords. And what we can see is that the number of listings is indeed going up significantly in the rental market. We were, around 3,000 listings about a year ago, and now we're in the 9,000 range. Right? So it's a huge increase in listing. But if we look at the historical average price, this is the asking price, it's essentially the listing price of those rentals, it's actually lower. So if we use the same dates as CMHC, October, right, October 2023, this is for all property types and all number of bedrooms. Average for all of Calgary was 2280. And then if you look at the same time right now, it's around 2127. Right? So we're seeing a just under 10% drop year over year. And again, this applies for different property types. That's the market as a whole. Why is that? Well, the way that CMHC looks at those numbers is they're not looking at asking rents. They're looking at the rents that people are actually paying. And yes, on average, those rents are higher this year than they were last year. But that's the same as if I told you right now that the mortgage rates are going up right now because people are paying higher mortgage rates. But that doesn't really tell the whole story, because even though mortgage rates are dropping right now, there's a lot of people that still have fixed rates that are renewing. So if you had a fixed rate at 2% 4 or 5 years ago, and you're renewing right now at, let's say, 4.5%, you're technically having an increase, but the mortgage rates are currently going down. So it's the same idea, right? So we wanted to provide this video just to give you the context and kind of the whole story and what's actually happening. Because yes, tenants on average are paying more this year than last year, but the rental market is going down right now. So this is a really good example of how just by using different metrics, you can get a bit of a different headline. Obviously, the report is correct in what they're showing, that the rent growth has slowed from the perspective of actual rental property renewal, right? And something I haven't actually showed that I'll show here too is that the turnover rate is measured separately from CMHC than the change in tenants that are just renewing their leases, right? So the data I have in here, it's 8.9% for the overall change, but the turnover, meaning a tenant that moves out and then a whole different tenant that's moving in, is higher, right? 23.6% for Calgary. But again, that's measuring a rental property that market rent had not been achieved yet because the tenant was still living there. And now that there's a new tenant moving in, there's still an increase in rent from that perspective, but that still doesn't track the asking rent last year over this year, which really, as a landlord, is more what you're tracking. As a real estate investor, you want to see what the rental market is doing from that perspective. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, reach out to us. And if you like videos like this, click the link below to subscribe.